Millionaire took his plain secretary to dinner and froze when she walked in like a goddess. Hello everyone. Before we dive into today's emotional story, I'd love a quick favor from you. Please hit the subscribe button and switch on the notification bell. It's completely free and it helps our channel grow so we can keep bringing you powerful, heartfelt stories every day. Your support truly means a lot to us. Also, tell me in the comments, which city or country are you watching from? I always enjoy seeing where our family is tuning in. Thank you so much. Now, let's step into the life of our today's story. People say you never truly know someone. Not until life places them in a moment they cannot prepare for. And sometimes, the person you underestimated the most ends up being the one who changes your entire world. That's exactly what happened to Alexander Hayes, the kind of man who turned heads the moment he entered a room. Millionaire. CEO. Handsome enough to make women rearrange their posture when he walked by. His confidence was polished, effortless, almost rehearsed. But the man who seemed to have everything never realized how empty his life truly was. Until the night he invited his plain and invisible secretary, Evelyn Grace, to dinner. A night that shattered illusions, bruised egos, revealed jealousy, exposed secrets, and changed everything he thought he knew about beauty, loyalty, and love. But to understand the shock of that moment, we need to start with who Evelyn was. Or rather, who people assumed she was. Evelyn was the quiet type. Soft-spoken. Polite. Always in a simple bun, cheap glasses, muted clothes, and zero makeup. A woman who moved through the office like a shadow, efficient, unnoticed, and never a source of trouble. People at the company didn't dislike her. They barely noticed her. Just the secretary. Nothing special. Too timid. Probably boring. But they had no idea what this woman carried in her past. No idea what she was hiding. No idea the fire beneath her quietness. And Alexander, the man with expensive suits and colder attitudes, was the most blind of them all. He hired her because she typed fast, never questioned orders, never flirted, never complicated his life. To him, she was safe background noise. An accessory to his schedule. An extra piece of furniture in his office. Until the night everything changed. A major merger was coming. A dinner invitation had to be extended to someone from his team. His usual PR assistant got sick. His marketing director canceled because her child had a fever. His head of operations had a conflicting event. He needed someone, anyone, to accompany him. So without thinking, he turned to Evelyn. "You're coming with me," he said casually. Evelyn blinked. "To dinner? With you?" His tone was clipped. "It's work. Be ready at 8. He didn't notice the flicker of hurt in her eyes. He didn't notice the weight of the moment for her. He didn't even look to see whether she wanted to go or not. She simply nodded. But the office buzzed the moment people heard. "Evelyn? With Alexander? Maybe he pities her. She's so plain, why her?" Even worse. His ex-girlfriend Isabella, the glamorous, jealous type, overheard. Isabella was everything Evelyn wasn't: loud, dramatic, dripping in designer brands, and convinced the world revolved around her. She smirked and said loudly enough for coworkers to hear, "Alexander must be truly desperate. Taking his secretary? Oh please. I doubt she owns a single dress worth wearing." People laughed. Including Alexander's best friend Daniel, who should have known better. But Evelyn heard. Every word. And something awakened inside her, something she had buried years ago. At home that evening, Evelyn stood in front of an old wooden wardrobe. She hesitated as she reached for the hidden drawer at the back. Inside was a dress wrapped in tissue paper, the last piece of her old life before everything fell apart. Deep emerald satin. Off-shoulder. Elegant. A dress too beautiful for the woman she believed she'd become. But for tonight, she dared. For one night, she decided to stop hiding. She let her hair down, thick waves cascading over her shoulders. Removed her glasses, revealing eyes the color of honey. added soft makeup, slipped into heels she hadn't worn in years. And when she stepped back, even she didn't recognize the woman in the mirror. Not plain, not invisible, not quiet. She looked like someone who could stop traffic. But she still whispered to her reflection, "Don't expect anything, Evelyn. This is just one night." Meanwhile, Alexander waited outside in his black Mercedes, checking his watch. "She's late," he muttered. When the lobby doors opened, his irritation evaporated instantly. Because Evelyn, the woman he barely looked at for 3 years, walked out looking like a living painting. Alexander froze. Her hair fell beautifully around her shoulders. Her dress hugged her figure tastefully. Her eyes shimmered when they caught the light. She carried herself with a confidence he had never seen in her before. For the first time, Alexander Hayes, the man who never lost composure, lost his breath. He stepped out of the car, stunned. "Evelyn?" She smiled politely. "Good evening, sir." "Sir." He hated that word suddenly. His voice barely worked. "You look different." She tilted her head. "Is that a problem?" "No." He swallowed. "It's absolutely not." But the real drama began at the restaurant. The merger partners were already inside. Investors. Executives. Isabella, yes, SHE was there too, invited by one of the partners. When the doors opened and Alexander entered with Evelyn on his arm, the entire room turned. Silence. Spilled wine. Chins dropping. Eyes widening. Evelyn wasn't just pretty tonight, she was breathtaking. Elegant. Graceful. Unrecognizable in the best way. Isabella's face twisted instantly. Her voice cracked like shattered glass. "That can't be Evelyn, the secretary?" Her jealousy spread fast across the room. "Who is she? Is she a model?" She looked stunning. Alexander felt something unfamiliar. Pride. Possessiveness. And a flicker of something far deeper. But Evelyn? She simply smiled with quiet confidence, a confidence that drew attention from every corner. Something she hadn't felt in years. Throughout dinner, Alexander watched her. He noticed how she listened more than she spoke. How she answered questions with intelligence and grace. How the merger partners respected her instantly. How her presence alone softened the mood in the room. And for the first time in years, he felt peace. But peace never lasts long in stories like this. And tonight, a storm was coming. Isabella couldn't stand it. She marched to their table, heels stabbing the floor like daggers. Well, she sneered. "Looks like someone had a miracle makeover." Evelyn stayed calm. "Good evening, Miss Isabella." "Oh please," Isabella scoffed. "You really think Alex brought you here for your beauty? You're still just his secretary. Don't get confused." Before Evelyn could answer, Alexander stood up. His voice was cold, sharp. "Evelyn is here because I chose to bring her. And you will speak to her with respect." Everyone froze. Isabella's mouth fell open. But that wasn't the end. Isabella leaned closer, her voice dripping venom. "You think you can impress a millionaire? You think you belong here? You're nothing, Evelyn. Nothing." Before Evelyn could breathe, someone behind Isabella spoke. "That's funny. Because she's the smartest person in this entire room." It was Daniel, Alexander's best friend, who had been silently admiring Evelyn the entire evening. "And you're threatened," he added. The restaurant gasped. Isabella stormed off, humiliated. But Alexander felt something hot in his chest. Jealousy. Why did it bother him that Daniel defended Evelyn? Why did it bother him that Daniel kept looking at her with admiration? Why did it bother him so deeply? After dinner, Alexander walked Evelyn to the car, the night air cool around them. For the first time, he didn't feel like a CEO. Or a millionaire. or a man used to attention. He felt like someone who had been blind for too long. "Evelyn," he began slowly, "why do you hide yourself every day?" Her expression softened, but her answer cut straight through him. "Because in this world, being invisible is safer than being noticed." He frowned. "What happened to you?" She hesitated, but decided to trust him, just a little. "I wasn't always like this," she whispered. "My last relationship ended badly. He made me believe I was plain. Unwanted. Easy to replace. So I stopped trying. Being unseen meant no one could hurt me again." Alexander's jaw clenched. He didn't know who the man was, but he hated him instantly. He reached out slowly, gently, and lifted her chin. "Whoever told you that," he whispered, "lied." She stepped back, unsure of what to do with the intensity in his eyes. "Good night, sir." Again with sir. Again with distance. But Alexander didn't push. Not yet. The next morning, the office erupted in gossip. Evelyn tried to walk calmly to her desk, but whispers spread like wildfire. "Is that really her? She looks gorgeous. She could be a model." Alexander couldn't take his eyes off her. Isabella stormed in and caused a scene so dramatic it could have won awards. But something bigger, much bigger, was happening. Daniel, Alexander's best friend, started showing interest in Evelyn. Real interest. He visited her desk. Brought her coffee. Complimented her work. Made her laugh. Evelyn looked confused, surprised, but slowly began to warm up to him. And Alexander? He was drowning in emotions he didn't know how to name. Jealousy. Regret. Attraction. Fear of losing her. A desire he had no right to feel. Because in his mind, she was still his employee. And he had rules. But rules don't matter when the heart wakes up. And Alexander Hayes' heart was wide awake now. Yet just when he decided to confess his feelings, a twist came he never saw coming. A man appeared in the lobby. Dark suit. Sharp jaw. Cold stare. He walked straight to Evelyn's desk. Her face went pale. Alexander watched from his office window, heart pounding. Who was he? Why did Evelyn look so terrified? The man leaned in and whispered, "You cannot hide forever." Evelyn's hands shook. The past she tried to bury had just walked right back into her life. Alexander stormed out of his office instantly. "Is everything okay here?" The man smirked. "Oh? So this is the millionaire who thinks he owns her now?" Evelyn whispered, "Alexander, please, don't." But it was too late. The man introduced himself. "I'm her ex-fiancé. And she ran from me." "She never told you that part, did she?" The entire office froze. The spell broke. Evelyn trembled. And Alexander felt something sharp twist inside him. Fear. Because for the first time, he realized Evelyn didn't just hide her beauty. She hid her past. Her pain. Her danger. And now that danger was standing right in front of them. The moment the man said, "I'm her ex-fiancé," the entire office shifted. The hum of printers, clicking keyboards, distant conversations. Everything went silent. Evelyn stood frozen, her hands trembling above her desk, her eyes wide like she'd just seen a ghost crawl out of her past. And Alexander. He felt a coldness spread through his chest, one he had never felt before. Because the fear in Evelyn's eyes wasn't normal. It wasn't embarrassment. It wasn't discomfort. It was terror. Pure, silent, suffocating terror. Alexander stepped forward instinctively, placing himself between Evelyn and the stranger. His voice was calm, but his eyes burned. "Who are you to speak to her like that?" The man smirked, a slow, sinister curl of his lips. "Relax, Mr. CEO. I'm the man she promised to marry." Evelyn's stomach twisted. She whispered, Don't do this here." But the man ignored her because men like him always ignore the women they break. "You didn't tell them, did you?" he said loudly, ensuring the entire floor heard. "You didn't tell them how you disappeared from our engagement party. How you threw away everything we built. How you ran like a coward." Evelyn closed her eyes, holding in tears. The office didn't know her past. Not because she lied, but because she finally built a life with no fear attached. Until now. Alexander stepped closer, voice low, threatening. "You need to leave. Now." The man lifted a brow. "Oh? You care about her that much?" It wasn't a question. It was a taunt. Alexander didn't answer. He couldn't. Not without revealing too much. So the man continued, leaning in just enough to make Evelyn flinch. "I'm here to take her home. We have unfinished business." Home. That single word sent Evelyn into a spiral of panic. "No," she whispered, barely audible. "No, I'm not going anywhere with you." Alexander's fists clenched. He had never wanted to punch someone so badly in his life. The man grabbed Evelyn's wrist. People gasped. But before anyone could react, Alexander seized the man's arm and twisted it off her. "Don't touch her." His voice was so deadly calm, the man finally understood. This wasn't a CEO. This was a man with something to lose. The man stepped back, glaring. "This isn't over, Evelyn. You belong to me." "No," Evelyn whispered, finding her strength. "I never belonged to you." But he laughed. A cold, chilling laugh that echoed off the marble floors. "We'll see about that." And with that, he walked away, leaving a storm behind him. But the storm didn't end when he left. It began. Just because you've walked away from your past doesn't mean your past has walked away from you. Not when demons refuse to die quietly. And Evelyn's demons? They were waking up hungry. That afternoon, Alexander called Evelyn into his office. She sat across from him, hands clasped tightly, her breathing uneven. Alexander softened his voice. "Evelyn, please tell me the truth. Who is he? What did he do to you?" She stared down at her lap, her voice barely above a whisper. "He was controlling. Obsessive. He tracked my phone. Chose my clothes. Told me who to talk to. What to eat. Where to go." Alexander's jaw tightened. But she wasn't done. "He didn't hit me. Not physically. But he broke me in ways I didn't see until it was too late. And when I tried to end things, he threatened to ruin my life." She took a shaky breath. "So I ran." Alexander leaned forward. "You don't have to run anymore." Evelyn shook her head. "You don't understand. He's powerful. Connected. If he wants to find me, he will." Alexander met her eyes. "Then let him try. Because if he comes near you again, he'll have to get through me first." Her lips parted, stunned. No one had ever stood up for her like this. But she looked away quickly. "Alexander, you're my boss. You shouldn't be involved." His voice softened. "Maybe I want to be involved." Evelyn's heart stumbled. But she forced herself to push the feeling away. "No," she whispered. "This isn't your fight." But Alexander knew she was wrong. Because something inside him had shifted. And there was no going back now. While Alexander was processing fear, someone else was processing something very different. Jealousy. Daniel. He watched the entire confrontation earlier. He saw Evelyn shake. He saw Alexander protect her. And something ugly twisted inside him. Daniel approached Evelyn later, offering her tea and a soft smile. "You okay?" he asked. She nodded. "I'm trying." He placed a hand gently on her shoulder. "If you ever need someone to talk to, I'm here. Not as your boss's friend, Not as someone who wants anything from you. Just someone who cares. Evelyn's eyes softened. Relief mixed with gratitude. Daniel noticed the way she looked at him. The way she trusted him. The way she relaxed around him. And his heartbeat shifted. Because this wasn't just concern anymore. This was interest. Real interest. The kind that complicates everything. When Alexander walked past and saw them talking, saw Evelyn smiling, saw Daniel's hand on her shoulder, something sharp pierced him. He didn't have a name for it. But every viewer watching this story, they know exactly what it was. He walked to his office and slammed the door a bit too hard. For a man who never lost control, he was losing it now. That night, Evelyn received a message that made her stomach drop. A picture of her door, taken just minutes ago. A message beneath it. You can't hide forever. Her blood ran cold. She locked all windows, closed every curtain, bolted the door twice. Her phone buzzed again. This time, a voice message. Her ex's voice. I'll come back tomorrow. We're something nice. We're going home. Evelyn dropped the phone, hands shaking so violently she couldn't breathe. Her first instinct was to call the police. But he had connections everywhere. Her second instinct was to call Daniel. But she didn't want to drag him into danger. Her third instinct, the one she tried to bury, was to call Alexander. But she didn't want him to think she needed rescuing. She didn't want him to feel responsible. Didn't want him to think she was a burden. So she curled into her blanket and cried silently. But fate had different plans. Because while Evelyn cried alone in her apartment, Alexander was driving around the city. Not because he had errands. Not because he had a meeting. But because something in him kept whispering. She's not safe. Something is wrong. Find her. He drove past her street once. Twice. 3 times. And on the 4th pass, he saw him. The ex. Standing across the street from Evelyn's apartment. Watching her window. Alexander slammed the brakes so hard the car shook. And that was the moment everything changed. Because this was no longer jealousy. No longer attraction. No longer curiosity. This was protection. This was territorial fear. This was something deeper than he was ready to admit out loud. He got out of the car and walked straight toward the man. Alexander stepped out of his car with a calmness that was far more terrifying than anger. The ex-fiancé, Lucas, didn't move. Didn't blink. Didn't even look surprised. He just smirked, as if he'd been waiting for this moment. So, Lucas said casually, hands in his pockets, the rich CEO thinks he's her hero now. Alexander didn't react to the provocation. He simply asked one question. Why are you here? Lucas shrugged. I told her I'd come for her. She ran from me. No one runs from me. Alexander stepped closer. You're not taking her anywhere. Lucas's eye twitched, just barely. That's not your decision. It is, Alexander replied coldly, because she doesn't want you. Lucas laughed, a loud, cruel sound that echoed through the empty street. You think I care what she wants? Evelyn is mine. She always was. Alexander's fists clenched at his sides. He forced himself not to punch him. Not yet. Lucas leaned in, lowering his voice. You know nothing about her. Nothing about what she owes me. Nothing about why she ran. Alexander's jaw tightened. He didn't care about the past, it didn't matter. What mattered was the trembling woman crying in her apartment right now. And nothing would take her back to that monster. You step near her again, Alexander said quietly, and I will destroy you. Lucas's lips curled into a slow smile. There it is. The truth. You're in love with her. Alexander didn't answer. He didn't need to. Because silence is the loudest confession. Lucas started clapping mockingly. Well, this is going to be fun. Alexander took another step forward. Leave before I do something I won't regret. But Lucas didn't leave. Instead, he whispered something chilling. You think she told you everything? Ask her about the night she ran. Ask her what she took. Ask her what she left behind. Alexander's heartbeat stumbled. What did she leave? He demanded. Lucas smirked. Her dignity. Her reputation. Her future. And one more thing. He leaned in, voice barely audible. She left me to take the blame for something she did. Alexander's eyes narrowed. What are you talking about? Lucas stepped back, spreading his arms like he had all the time in the world. Get her to tell you. If she can. If she dares. Alexander grabbed Lucas by the collar. You're lying. Lucas chuckled. Maybe. Maybe not. Either way, she belongs to me. Alexander shoved him back. Get out. Lucas walked away finally, but not before turning and saying, Tell Evelyn I'll see her soon. Tell her I'm not done. That night, Alexander didn't go home. He didn't return to the office. He didn't call Daniel. He went straight to Evelyn's apartment. He knocked softly. No answer. He knocked again. Finally, he heard footsteps, hesitant and slow. The door opened just an inch. Evelyn's face appeared, pale, shaken, eyes red from crying. Alexander, what are you doing here? He exhaled in relief, because she was safe, at least for now. Let me in, he said gently. We need to talk. She hesitated. Not because she didn't trust him, but because she trusted him too much. And that terrified her. Eventually, she unlocked the door. Alexander stepped inside, scanning the apartment quickly, checking windows, corners, locks, shadows. Did he contact you? He asked. Evelyn swallowed hard and nodded. He sent pictures. And a voice message. Alexander's hands balled into fists. Why didn't you call me? You're my boss, she whispered. I don't want to cause problems. Alexander turned to her sharply. You are not a problem. Her breath hitched. He softened his tone. I saw him outside your building. Evelyn froze. Her knees buckled. Alexander caught her before she could fall. He was here, she whispered, voice cracking. He's watching me. He won't come near you again, Alexander said firmly. But Evelyn didn't look relieved. She looked guilty. Because deep down, she knew something Lucas said earlier was true. She did leave something behind. Something she never told anyone. Not even Alexander. Not even Daniel. Not even herself, when she looked in the mirror at night. Alexander brushed a tear from her cheek. Evelyn, what is he talking about? What happened the night you left him? Evelyn backed away, shaking her head. No. Please. I can't. Not tonight. Alexander stepped closer, voice soft. Evelyn, you have to tell me. I can't help you if I don't know the truth. She pressed her back against the wall, covering her face with her hands. Her voice came out broken. I left because he scared me. I left because he wasn't who I thought he was. I left because if I didn't, I would have lost myself. But there's more, Alexander said gently. I can see it in your eyes. Evelyn's tears fell silently. There was an accident, she whispered finally. Something happened that night. Something I never told anyone. Alexander's heart raced. What accident? She stared at the floor. I thought I killed him. Alexander froze. What? Evelyn's voice shook violently. We were fighting. He grabbed me. I pushed him. He fell, hard. His head hit the edge of the table. There was blood. Her breath hitched as memories crushed her. I thought he was dead. I panicked. I ran. Alexander moved toward her slowly, gently lifting her chin. Evelyn, if he's alive, then you didn't kill him. But she shook her head. You don't understand. He told the police I attacked him. He told everyone I was unstable. He told my parents he saved me from myself. Alexander's jaw clenched so hard it hurt. You're telling me he framed you? She nodded weakly. He turned everyone against me. And I believed him. For a long time. I believed I deserved it. Alexander pulled her into his arms. She didn't fight him. For the first time, she let herself collapse in someone else's embrace. You didn't deserve any of it, he whispered. You didn't do anything wrong. But Evelyn cried harder. Because for the first time, someone believed her. The next morning, things escalated fast. Lucas filed a police report claiming Evelyn was mentally unstable. Evelyn had assaulted him. Evelyn had stolen valuables. Evelyn had tried to escape accountability. And because Lucas had connections, the police showed up at Alexander's office. Evelyn's worst nightmare came true. The entire office watched as officers walked toward her desk. Evelyn Grace, one asked. Her hands trembled. Yes? We need you to come with us. Before they could touch her, Alexander stepped between them. No, she isn't going anywhere without a lawyer. Sir, step aside. Alexander didn't move. You want to take her? Fine. Take us both. The officers exchanged glances. Daniel rushed forward too. She's innocent, he insisted. You're making a mistake. Isabella, who had been waiting for a moment to strike, spoke up loudly. Wow, Evelyn. First you steal someone's fiancé, and now you're running from the police? Some secretary you are. People gasped. Evelyn felt the walls closing in. But Alexander's voice cut through everything. Enough. The entire floor went silent. Alexander faced the officers firmly. You are not arresting her without evidence. The officers hesitated. Then one of them said, She can come voluntarily for questioning. Evelyn whispered, I'll go. No, Alexander said softly. Not alone. He took her hand. Right in front of everyone. And didn't let go. Daniel watched quietly, something breaking inside him. Isabella watched too, jealousy burning like acid. And the whole office knew. This wasn't about a CEO helping his secretary anymore. This was personal. Deeply personal. At the police station, Evelyn explained everything. Alexander stayed beside her through every word. Lucas arrived too, wearing a smug smile, pretending to be a victim. But Alexander wasn't letting him win. He hired the best attorney in the city. Submitted building security camera footage. Showed screenshots of Lucas's threatening messages. Showed the photo he took of Lucas stalking the apartment. The detective reviewing everything finally said, Miss Grace, these messages alone prove harassment. You might be the victim here, not him. Lucas's face twitched. The narrative had flipped. He stood abruptly. This isn't over. Oh, but it is, Alexander replied coldly. Stay away from her. Or you'll deal with me legally, and personally. Lucas stormed out. For the first time in months, Evelyn's lungs breathed fully. She turned to Alexander, tears shining in her eyes. You didn't have to do all this. Yes, he said softly, I did. Why? She whispered. Alexander held her gaze. Because I care about you. More than I should. More than I planned. More than I can hide anymore. Evelyn's breath caught. Daniel's face flashed in her mind. So did her painful past. But she whispered. Alexander, what are we doing? The truth, he said simply. We're telling the truth. Just when Evelyn felt safe. Just when Alexander felt close. Just when the storm seemed to calm. A nurse walked into the room, holding a clipboard. "Miss Grace?" "Yes?" The nurse hesitated. "We received your test results from earlier this week." Her voice softened. "I'm afraid we need to talk privately. It's important." Evelyn's stomach twisted. Alexander's eyes narrowed with worry. "What results?" he asked. The nurse looked at him. "It's confidential," Evelyn whispered, voice shaking. "It's okay. He can hear it." The nurse nodded slowly. Then she said the words that froze them both. "Miss Evelyn Grace, your test shows signs of a possible early-stage tumor. We need to schedule further scans immediately." The room spun. Evelyn's breath stopped. Alexander grabbed her hand instantly. "Evelyn, look at me. We're going to handle this. Together." Her voice cracked. "Why now? Why is everything happening at once?" He pulled her into his arms. "Because life doesn't attack the weak. It attacks the strongest ones." She cried into his shoulder. And this time, Alexander didn't hide his tears either. For a moment, everything was silent. The kind of silence that doesn't come from peace, but from shock. Evelyn felt the room tilt, her fingers numb in Alexander's grip. Her vision blurred, her chest tightened, and her heartbeat fluttered like a trapped bird. A possible tumor. The nurse's voice echoed in her head again and again like a cruel bell. Alexander held her hand firmly. His knuckles white. His breath uneven. His chest rising and falling with fear he wasn't used to feeling. Because millionaires like him, men of power, are used to solving problems. But this was a battle he couldn't buy his way out of. He looked at her with a desperation he didn't hide anymore. "Evelyn, listen to me. Whatever this is, we're going to fight it. You're not alone. Not anymore." Evelyn swallowed hard, tears falling down her face. "I don't want to be sick," she whispered. "I don't want to fight anymore. I'm tired." Alexander cupped her face gently. "You're the strongest person I've ever known. And you're not going through this by yourself. I won't let you." Evelyn's lips trembled. "Why are you doing all this for me?" He didn't answer immediately. He didn't need to. Because the answer was already written in his eyes. Alexander took her home that evening. The world felt different. Quieter, heavier, more fragile. He insisted on staying, but Evelyn shook her head. "I need time to think." He hesitated. Every instinct screamed to stay. But he respected her. "If you need me, call me. Even if it's 2 a.m. Even if it's for nothing. Just call." She nodded weakly. Alexander didn't leave until she was inside and the door was locked. But the moment she disappeared behind the door, he leaned against the wall outside her apartment, closed his eyes, and whispered, "Please, don't let anything happen to her." This wasn't obsession. This wasn't infatuation. This wasn't temporary attraction. This was fear. Deep, shaking fear. That he might lose her before he ever had the chance to love her fully. When Evelyn finally gathered the strength to call one person, it wasn't Alexander. It was Daniel. He rushed over within minutes, worry etched across his face. Seeing her pale and crying broke him. He knelt in front of her couch. "What happened?" "Evelyn, what's wrong?" She told him everything. The tests. The fear. The uncertainty. Daniel didn't try to be strong. He didn't hide the tremble in his voice when he whispered, "You're not alone. I'm here. Whatever you need." He held her as she cried. Not as a boss. Not as a friend. But as a man whose heart was slowly breaking for her. But deep inside, Daniel felt something else. Anger. Anger that her ex had traumatized her. Anger that the universe was unfair. Anger that he wasn't the one she called first. And that anger grew when he saw Alexander outside in the parking lot when he left. Their eyes met across the dim lot. Daniel said nothing at first. Then he walked closer. "You love her," Daniel said quietly, not as a question but a fact. Alexander didn't deny it. Daniel nodded slowly. "So do I." The silence between them was thick. Dangerous. A love triangle no one intended. But fate created anyway. The next morning, Evelyn arrived at work. Her face calm. Her hair tied back. Her emotions locked behind a practiced mask. But the office could feel the storm beneath her silence. And Isabella smelled blood. When Evelyn walked past her desk, Isabella smirked. "Heard you almost got arrested yesterday. Heard you're sick too." "Poor thing." Evelyn didn't respond. Isabella stood and spoke loudly so everyone could hear. "Maybe it's better if you leave. This company needs stable people. Not whatever you are." The words sliced through the air. Before Evelyn could breathe, Alexander's voice thundered. "Isabella. My office. Now." The whole floor froze. Inside his office, Isabella tried to adjust her hair, her skirt, her pride. "Alex, I didn't mean." "You're fired." She gasped. "You can't fire me for that. I can fire you for a hostile environment. For harassment. For slander. And if you speak to Evelyn again, I'll make sure you never work in this city." Isabella's eyes filled with rage. "You're ruining your life over her." "No," Alexander said coldly. "You ruined yours." Security escorted her out. The entire office watched. And in that moment, every woman in the office silently rooted for Evelyn. That evening, Evelyn returned home to find something tucked under her door. A small envelope. Her hands shook as she opened it. Inside was a single photo. Of her sleeping. Taken from outside her window. A note beneath it. "You can't hide from me." Her body froze with fear. Her knees buckled. Her breath caught. Because this wasn't love. This wasn't heartbreak. This wasn't longing. This was hunting. She grabbed her phone immediately. This time, she didn't hesitate. She called Alexander. The moment he heard her trembling voice, he didn't ask questions. He didn't wait. He didn't breathe. He drove like a man possessed. Alexander arrived banging on her door. "Evelyn, open up. It's me." When she opened the door, he saw the terror in her eyes. "What happened?" She handed him the photo. His face hardened into something dark. Something dangerous. Something protective. "This ends now," he said. He took her coat, grabbed her keys, and said, "You're not staying here tonight. I can't just leave." "Yes," he said firmly, "you can. And you're coming with me." She didn't argue. Couldn't argue. Not with the fear shaking her bones. He took her hands gently. "Evelyn, you're safe with me. I promise." At Alexander's penthouse, everything felt surreal. It was warm. Quiet. Safe. But also too close. Too intimate. Too dangerous, emotionally. While Alexander checked every lock, every window, every corner, Evelyn sat on the couch staring at him. This powerful man, the one she thought would never notice her, was now fighting her monsters. He returned to her, kneeling in front of the couch. "Evelyn, look at me." Her eyes lifted slowly. He brushed a strand of hair behind her ear. "You're not alone anymore. Not with your past. Not with your fear. Not with your health. I'm here." Her lip trembled. "Why are you doing all this? Why do you care so much?" Alexander hesitated for the first time. Then he whispered the truth. "Because I'm falling for you. And I don't know how to stop." Evelyn's breath hitched. Her chest tightened. Her heartbeat quickened. Alexander. I can't. Yes, he said gently, you can. She shook her head. I'm sick. I might be dying. I'm broken. I'm afraid. I'm perfect, he interrupted softly. You are perfect. Not because you're flawless, but because you survived things that would have destroyed anyone else. A tear slid down her cheek. He wiped it gently. I don't want you because you're strong, he whispered. I want you because even when you're breaking, you're still beautiful. And just when the distance between them almost disappeared, a loud knock shook the door. A violent, angry knock. Evelyn froze instantly. Alexander stood and approached the door carefully. He looked through the peephole, and his eyes turned black with rage. It's him, he whispered. Lucas. Standing outside. At Alexander's home. He wasn't stalking anymore. He was hunting. The knocking wasn't knocking anymore. It was banging. Heavy. Violent. Unhinged. The kind of banging that makes the walls vibrate. The kind that sends a knife of fear down the spine. Evelyn froze on the couch, her hands trembling so severely she couldn't even stand. Her breaths came out shaky, shallow, uneven. Alexander stepped toward the door slowly, silently, like a lion preparing to protect what was his. He didn't need to check the peephole again. He already knew. Lucas. Evelyn grabbed the edge of the sofa. Alexander, don't open the door. Don't. He turned around, eyes fierce but softening when they met hers. I won't let him touch you. Not again. Another bang. Open the door, Evelyn. Lucas shouted. I know you're in there. Evelyn covered her ears, trembling. Her past was no longer a memory, it was standing 3 inches from the door. She whispered, voice breaking. He's going to hurt you, he always gets violent when he's angry. Alexander stepped closer to her, gently pulling her hands away from her ears. Let him try. But just as he reached for his phone to call security, a loud crack filled the hallway. Lucas was trying to break the door in. Evelyn's scream tore through the room. No! Alexander grabbed his phone and called 911, voice sharp as steel. This is Alexander Hayes. My home is under attack by a stalker. Send police now. The banging grew louder. More desperate. More dangerous. Evelyn. Lucas roared. You can't hide behind him. Alexander pressed Evelyn behind him, shielding her with his body. You're safe, he whispered. But Evelyn shook her head wildly, tears streaming down her face. No, I'm not. He won't stop. He never stops. Her breaths were getting shorter. Faster. Dangerously fast. Evelyn, look at me, Alexander said, gripping her shoulders. But her vision blurred. Her chest tightened. Her knees buckled. I can't breathe, she gasped. She wasn't just terrified. She was having a full panic attack. Alexander held her as she started collapsing. And right in that moment, Lucas broke the door open. It slammed against the wall with a thunderous crash. Lucas stepped inside, eyes wild, breath heavy, fists clenched. Evelyn choked out a scream. Alexander stood tall, blocking Lucas's path. That's enough, Alexander growled. You're going to jail tonight. Lucas laughed a twisted laugh. You think I'm scared of you? You took what's mine. You think you can hide her forever? She belongs with me. No. Evelyn shouted from the floor. No, I don't. Lucas lunged. Alexander grabbed him immediately. The 2 men crashed into the side table, sending glass shattering across the floor. Evelyn tried to push herself up, but her body wasn't cooperating. Her vision doubled. Her breathing thinned to a wheeze. The stress. The fear. The illness. It was all too much. Her vision darkened. Alexander, she whispered faintly. He turned just long enough to see her eyes roll back. Evelyn. Lucas tried to punch again, but Alexander shoved him so hard he flew backward across the room. And then, red and blue lights flooded the doorway. Police stormed in. Get on the ground, they shouted. Lucas fought them like a wild animal. Kicking. Screaming. Cursing. But they restrained him. Cuffed him. Dragged him out. Even then, Lucas didn't stop shouting. You haven't seen the last of me, Evelyn. She's mine. Mine. His screams echoed down the hallway until the elevator swallowed the sound. And then, everything fell silent. Except Evelyn's faint, uneven breaths. Alexander dropped to his knees beside her. Evelyn, stay with me. Please. Stay with me. But her eyes fluttered. Her lips trembled. I can't keep fighting. I don't have anything left, she whispered. Alexander scooped her into his arms. You do. You have me. I'm right here. Her fingers curled weakly into his shirt. I don't want to die. You're not dying, Alexander whispered through tears he didn't even realize he was shedding. Not today. Not ever. I won't let you. He carried her out to the waiting ambulance. She drifted in and out of consciousness, the world dimming around her. The paramedic asked Alexander, Are you her husband? Alexander didn't hesitate. No. I'm the person who loves her. Evelyn faintly heard those words. But her eyes closed completely before she could respond. At the hospital, doctors rushed her into emergency exams. Alexander paced the hallway, hands on his head, unable to breathe properly. Daniel came running into the hospital moments later, chest heaving. What happened? Where is she? Alexander didn't want to explain. He didn't want to share the moment. He didn't want Daniel anywhere near. She collapsed, Alexander said tightly. The stress, the fear, and her medical condition, everything hit at once. Daniel clenched his jaw. This happened because she was with you. Because her ex followed you. Alexander turned slowly, eyes sharp. Her ex followed her. Not me. Daniel stepped closer. You think you're the only one who cares about her? You think she needs you more than me? Alexander didn't respond. He didn't need to. Daniel's voice broke. You don't love like me, Alexander. You show off. You protect because it makes you feel powerful. But I love her quietly. Gently. Without drama. Alexander's fists curled. She loves quietly too, Daniel continued. That's why she called me first last night, not you. That hit Alexander like a punch to the chest. You weren't here, Daniel said softly. I was. Alexander looked away. Not jealous. But wounded. Because Daniel was right about one thing. Evelyn had trusted Daniel first. And Alexander hated how much that hurt. Before he could respond, the doctor came out. Both men rushed to him. How is she? They said in unison. The doctor sighed. She's stable. But the stress caused a severe collapse. Her heart rate was dangerously low. She needs rest, and she needs calm. No more shocks. No more threats. No more emotional chaos. Alexander and Daniel both stiffened. The doctor continued. And we have her full test results now. Silence. Sharp silence. We found a mass. It may be benign, or it may not. We have to perform a biopsy. Alexander's heart stopped. Daniel's face drained of color. The doctor lowered his voice. But I'll tell you this. Whoever is causing her stress needs to stay away. That sentence hung in the air like a dagger. And both men felt it. Because both men were part of her heart. And her heart couldn't handle much more. A nurse hurried down the hallway holding a clipboard. Mr. Hayes? Mr. Daniel? Both men turned. The nurse looked serious. We also found something else in her tests. Something unexpected. Alexander's throat tightened. What? The nurse handed over the report. We ran a hormonal panel. Her levels indicate she might be. She paused, looked up, and said, pregnant. The world stopped. Alexander froze in place. Daniel felt the breath leave his chest. And everything they thought they knew about the night Evelyn collapsed. The night she disappeared from Lucas. The secrets she kept. Suddenly twisted into something far bigger. Alexander finally whispered. Pregnant? The nurse nodded. We won't know how far along until the scan, but yes. Alexander's voice cracked. Does Evelyn know? No, the nurse said softly. She has no idea. Daniel whispered, eyes shaking. Whose child is it? The nurse glanced between them. I don't know. But based on early signs, she may have been pregnant when she ran away from her ex. The hallway fell silent. Completely silent. Because this wasn't just about love anymore. This wasn't just about fear. This wasn't just about two men fighting over one woman. This was about a child. A secret. A past. A truth Evelyn never dared to tell. Alexander closed his eyes slowly. Daniel stepped back, hand on his chest. And the nurse said the words that shattered the air completely. Whichever one of you she trusts, that's who she'll tell the truth to.